Don't even know where to start. Don't even know where to start. Talking about you. See you as a queen and a lady. No ifs, no buts, no maybe. The only thing sweeter than my honeycomb. Oh yeah. Keep up as that same queen and lady. Keep the standard steady. The only thing sweeter than my honeycomb. See you as a queen and a lady. No ifs, no buts, no maybe. The only thing sweeter than my honeycomb. Oh yeah. Keep up as that same queen and lady. Keep the standard steady. The only thing sweeter than my honeycomb. See you as a queen and a lady. No ifs, no buts, no maybe. The only thing sweeter than my honeycomb. Oh yeah. Keep up as that same queen and lady.
Black history.
Keep the standard steady.
That
The only
history
thing
is
sweeter
no
than my
mystery.
honeycomb.
It clearly dictates that blacks were enslaved. Yes, blacks were enslaved. No need to search for identity. Distinguished straight through eternity. Melanin, straight, maternity. Melanin, straight, fraternity. We often take a fan as opposed to a tan. For transport, no van. Hiding then, but no screaming. We ran. Gone is that cloud. We can now shout aloud, and we cannot be cowed, for our victory makes us proud. But before our leaders cut their drama, we know right well that in various rings we can do all things. Now, black carries the plaque with freedom engraved. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Black. The word has many negative meanings, some of which have been attributed to us. But I ask the question today. If you know the answer, step up and convey. What is it that makes us black? Skin tone or character? Think carefully, for this is a serious matter. White is good, black is bad. Yet it was whites who enslaved blacks. How sad. For hundreds of years, our ancestors were held in captivity, enduring countless acts of abuse and other atrocities. Think about it for a minute. Take a step back. Of the two, who was white and who was black? As a people, we've been judged and maligned, pushed down and held back, intending to leave us behind. They call us black, and words are powerful. Is it a curse or just a label? The wise ones live above the hypocrisy, but for others, that word has become self-fulfilling prophecy. They buy into an image of what black should be. Becoming absorbed by it, they fail to see that it is keeping them mentally enslaved by a mode of dress and how they behave. They think it's cool, they think it's bad, and so they continue to wear it like a badge. They refuse to see the light and step out of the darkness of night to motivate and inspire themselves and shift onto the path that leads to greatness. Preferring to moan, groan, and complain about their state of affairs, they accomplish nothing and get nowhere. We're told that black absorbs light without reflecting any, but I beg to differ. We reflect light aplenty. The Obamas and Marcus Garvey, Nelson Mandela and Tyler Perry, the great Nanny and the late Dr. Martin Luther King. These are just a few of the countless many. My name and yours is not there yet, honey. We are whiter and brighter than they would have us think. And if you hadn't noticed, this is not a skin thing. But as you ponder, take time to discuss. Were we born black or was it imposed on us? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I see some people applauding. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We gave you some entertainment from the Alvin Ailey Ballet School. And if for those of you who's not familiar, in 1969, Mr. Alvin Ailey launched his school, the Alvin Ailey American Dance Center, with 125 Black students in Brooklyn. Since then, the company has toured all over the world and partnered with Fordham University, a traditional arts college, in 1998 to offer degrees in dance. The school now trains over 3,500 students each year and celebrated its 50th anniversary in 2019. Mrs. Chambers shared her poem, Black History, with us, and the one I read was one that I wrote back in 2010, simply titled Black. Thank you for showing up this evening to the Wisdom of Queens. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the Black Family Series, this Black Family Series was started by Alethea Cador of CA Consulting, Yuri Hutchinson of Carifica Canada, myself, Carlene Millwood of Carlene Millwood International, and Francine Vumbo of Mothers to Daughters. Yuri cannot be with us this evening as he is dealing with a death in his family, so we send him our sincere condolences. Now, the vision of the Black Family Series is getting back to the basics to disrupt the status quo by inspiring Black families to reclaim their identity to maximize their potential. And our mission is strengthening the foundation of the Black family for a more empowered future. So just to give you a little bit of a background, this is our second event of the series. The first event, we featured the men, and this event, we're featuring the ladies. Now, tonight we have a couple of gentlemen here that are going to be sharing something with us ladies. Let's welcome them to the stage. I think we have Mr. Jason Jackson, Omar Organja, and Gary Crawford. I'm not sure who is here, but I think I saw Jason on. So Jason, if you're ready to go, take it away.
Thank you so much, Carlene. Thank you for the poem, to you as well, Ms. Chambers, and thank you for the invitation, Alethea. Of course, as Carlene mentioned, Yuri couldn't be here this evening, and so I told him that I would be okay to attend. I have a list. I have some questions here, but I wasn't quite sure if I may have missed the format in terms of what is it that was expected in terms of the questions that were asked. If you wanted me to just jump in, or if you wanted me to just give a general introduction before going too in detail. I want to make sure that I'm keeping on track with what you want, Carlene. So tell me exactly what is it that you want me to start with.
So Alethea was your consultant. Alethea, are you there? Alethea? Okay, so in any case, what you are supposed to do, what the gentlemen are supposed to do on this forum is speak to the ladies, speak from your heart.
Okay. All right. Now, do you want me in speaking to address any of the questions that were sent?
Not necessarily. No,
Not
those are
necessarily.
the
Okay. All
families.
right. All right. Well, I guess if we're speaking from our hearts, then we don't need to have anything prepared. Wow. Um, Speaking from our hearts, the I think that there was one question that was on here that I felt was important, and that was the matter of the Black family. And I think that, so many of us, we grew up with the Black family only having one parent. There are some persons that, for whatever reason, are the odd ones out, where that one parent might be a father in some situations. And I was one of those rare cases, because my mother passed many, many years ago when I was much younger. And so I had the privilege, I would want to say, to be raised by a father, and by extension, my aunt. So I ended up with many other mothers. The the challenges of women in general. I think that the women know more than I can, in terms of, there are just some daily challenges that every woman faces. But then I think what separates the Black woman from all the other women is there's also that issue that comes down to just simply because of how you look. So there's the grand scale of all the deficits and the deficiencies that women tend to talk about, and they tend to somehow be measured in some way because of those things. But being the husband of a Black wife, then I also understand that the challenges go beyond what many people might see. I heard you mention about the family issue that Yuri is having, and it's so important that we're having a forum like this. This morning, unfortunately, my grandmother passed, and the funny thing about it is she has been that connection between myself and my mother for many years. She was 96 when she passed, or this morning she was 96, and the issue that come out of that was today is my aunt's birthday as well. And so I was more concerned about my aunt than I was about the passing of my grandmother, because I understand that, because of her age and so on, this is something that we were expecting, but certainly not on a day like today, because then it leaves that burden on my aunt as it is because of that memory. But I mentioned that because women somehow usually are put in a situation where they're taken for granted, because in some respect, I think as children growing up, we just expected our mothers to always do a particular thing. And I found that we somehow tend to give the fathers a pass. And especially if we're in homes where the father wasn't somehow present, there is usually that issue where the mother somehow felt unappreciated. One of the things that I did, growing up again in a home that my mother wasn't there, was I recognized growing up that there was a type of man that I needed to be in any relationship. And in my instance, it would have been in a marriage, a type of man that would be somebody that I want my daughter to aspire to get, somebody that is better than her father. And I strive to set the bar pretty high so that she can be picky. But I'm also trying to prepare her from the male perspective to make sure that she's also what somebody would want for their son. Because no, I'm faced with that issue of I have sons, and then the baby ended up being a little girl. And from the Black woman's perspective, I have to be looking at things through her eyes, understanding, no, I'm an HR professional, so I understand, even know that there might still be a world in which, just simply because of the color of her skin, even if she is the more qualified, she might just be passed up for the interview. She might go into a room and be told that the position somehow is no longer available. She will probably have issues when she goes into a store. Right away, they're probably expecting her to do or to be, as Carlene's poem was saying, to act what we consider to be Black. I have an adult son, and I have a son that's in the middle. And I find that that perhaps might be the greatest challenge, or growing my daughter is probably going to be the greatest challenge that I have as a father, because I see the difficulties that women have in general. and then for her to be, as I told my sons, they look like polished bronze. For her to be or to grow in a place where she is able to figure herself out and to be confident in doing that. There are just so many things that I have to be doing, and sometimes I feel like it's excessive, but I realize that there's so many challenges that she will have. And my focus has been to make sure that her confidence in self is something that somehow is anchored in something more than the things that I can buy. I I think a little bit outside of the box when it comes on to parenting, because I understand that we might not always be here when it comes on to to being a parent. And my ultimate goal for her as a woman, or she's a little girl, but she will somehow become a Black woman, and somehow will face some of the stereotypes that her mother somehow has to face, is to make sure that she's prepared to not have the safety and the defense and somebody who's always speaking up for her that she has no in daddy, but somehow to build her up in such a way that she's able to stand for herself when that time comes. Um, there are many instances in which I would fight if somebody, if you call it that, whenever I see some form of injustice, or even if my wife has a certain experience. But the one thing I've discovered about the Black woman and her experience is that it's not in every instance that she wants the Black man to speak up for her. She wants to be able to speak for herself as well, because we are no longer in a society where the man somehow represents all the ideals and the ideas of the woman, but she also wants to tell other women and to tell other men as well that I do not need a voice, or I don't need somebody to be around in order for me to have a voice, but I can speak for myself. And so it's not so much relegating my role as husband to, let me handle this, but it's more a matter of I'm not always around. And the challenges that come out of that, there are so many. There are so many. The greatest one I think that we're trying to overcome simply as a community, and for women especially, is the issue of equity. Equity, whether it's in employment, equity when it comes on to just how you're treated, equity when it comes on to if you go to the hospital, will you be listened to? Those are some of the things that other women don't have to be concerned about when they go to the hospital, unfortunately. And because I know that these challenges exist, I'm somehow always on my guard. And that unfortunately is the Black experience, where you're trying to be okay. You're trying not to play into the hand of what is expected, but I'm always watching to make sure that what she is supposed to get, and the she that I'm referring to in this instance is, my wife, might be a cousin, a sister, but anybody that I'm in that moment able to share in that experience. And I'm always making sure that you're not getting less than what you're supposed to get, because subconsciously and unconsciously somehow people always seem to do that. But the one thing that I would say that always comes up is the lack of sisterhood. And we're told, and Carlene, I'm going to reference your poem again, that we're always told that everybody else does it the right way, but Black people somehow they don't. And I think that in some instances we've bought into that completely. Even if aspects of it is true, I feel as if men and Black women have bought into that idea that we can't do anything together. And because of that, there is a term that we use in performance management. We call it self-fulfilling prophecy, where when somebody comes new into an organization, I see Carlene, I don't see her as a strong contender. And so I treat her as somebody who will perform poorly. And guess what she does? She performs poorly. Self-fulfilling prophecy. But we do that. And whether it is true or not, whether in your little pockets of people that it happens, I don't think it's the truth. But I think it's one of those things where there's a saying that when we're attacked from the outside, we can sustain ourselves. But once the issue is from within, then we're bound for destruction. And what better way to convince us that we're limited together than to reinforce the idea that somehow we're just crab in a barrel. somehow we're always somehow envious of each other. Somehow the Black woman cannot have that moment in which her sister sees her and can say to her, "You're beautiful. I love what you're wearing. You look amazing." Instead, she said, the experiences somehow, because remember that we oftentimes see what we think. And so the laws of attraction, whatever it is, that, and but so a man think it, so he is. So we attract those instances in which, rather than getting those affirming words, because affirmation is also something that we're not used to in our community. We're seen as being too white or weak or somehow. And I'm saying, why have we allowed people to tell us that the Black experience is one in which we are crass, one in which we lack intellect, one in which we are somehow not able to speak for ourselves. We can't represent ourselves. We don't know what we're saying or what we're doing. They expect us to simply be silly. And that, I think, has been the greatest defeat for the Black woman, where she somehow has been convinced that she's better off with other women, that other women will somehow make opportunities better for her, and she won't feel chastised and feel as if she has to be making herself small to make another Black girl feel big and that type of thing. And I'm just speaking just based on the the sum of experiences that I think my wife has had, and some of the stuff that she shared, and some of the things that she has not shared. But that's the one thing that we keep hearing, that somehow we're just not good together. Nothing works with us. Once it's all us, there's always going to be an issue. And I think that if we can figure how to get that thing out of our heads, that somehow as a community we cannot achieve anything because we're always trying to be one step of the other. A good friend of mine said that we prefer zero of nothing than some of something. So if it's not all mine, I don't want to be a part of it. It has to be mine so that I can get the acknowledgement, the accolades, and so on that comes with it. And that's been the issue and the struggle that we're overcoming. The idea that we can't do anything together. And so it doesn't matter what we touch. We are constantly told, it doesn't matter how good of an idea it is, once too many of us are in it, it just won't work. And that has been a challenge. And I see it manifesting in our own friendship circles and networks, where we are somehow demotivated by the idea that once everything seems to be okay, something is going to happen, somebody's going to do something, and it's not going to work. But I think that if there's anything I could say that has continued to motivate me, is that the Black family requires the presence of the Black woman. We, again, don't associate Black and family together. I sometimes worry that my wife goes to the school council meeting without me, because what are they going to believe, that she's a single mother? No, but they know me at school. But there's still that idea, that thing of representation, showing up where we're supposed to be showing up, being among the few parents that are always there in a mostly white school, and somehow the representation matters. But I think that she needs to be reminded that, and I'm speaking about my daughter in this instance, that she's beautiful even with her hair that she has. And that's been a struggle that we had in some instances with my 9-year-old, or soon to be 9-year-old. I've told her that, and she believes it and she knows it. I've had to speak to my wife's confidence when, in some instances, she has tried something that she knows she's supposed to be able to be successful at, but we know why she's not getting a break with it, or we know why it is that somehow she just doesn't seem to measure up, and she always has to be doing it twice as hard. And you women know that. The twice as hard idea, that we're always being watched, and so you have to be doing it double as good at a job as you have to. And so the pressure of that wears at you. And so the support is something that I think the Black woman requires. But again, as men, we're told that she's not soft enough, that somehow she's too strong for us. She's too strong-willed. And, we're better off with somebody else that we can tell to do what we want to do, and so on. But all of that, I think, is just the conjecture that says the Black woman just isn't as good as other women. And I think that I couldn't adequately speak for a Black woman, even in an organization that we have as Carifica, if my spouse wasn't Black. Her color was no issue before, but no, it is. And so constantly I have to be reinforcing it to my daughter that this is a reality that mommy sometimes has to face. But my encouragement is I want her to believe that she can do things together with other Black girls, and that she's not to expect that she won't be successful or that it won't work. My wife is a very important aspect of our family structure. And the boys make her remind her constantly of that, but we don't see it
Excellent.
every
Thank you
day.
so much. I really truly enjoyed that. Enjoyed your touching on representation, and the things that Black women struggle with the most is they're knowing that they're beautiful, especially that their hair is beautiful. And some wonderful, wonderful points. Thank you so much for that. Sorry we had to cut it short, but because we are short on time tonight, we're going to move right on to Omari. Are you ready to go? And Omari, if you can keep it to 5 minutes, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Greetings, everyone. Good night. I give thanks for what Jason had presented. He touched on a lot of things that I would have touched on anyway, so that was excellent, Jason. And I think it was excellent to hear a Black man representing for the Black woman that way. I like to say African man representing for the African woman that way. So I want to give thanks for you, brother, and for
Yeah,
the sisters there.
raising the
We
roof
love
for
you.
you.
Contrary to this falsehood and this false belief, we love you. We love you entirely. We love you dearly. The ones who are staying away from their sister has to do with, as you know, you all know, has to do with deep trauma. And many Black men, contrary to popular belief, don't feel that they can live up to the Black woman, live up to the expectations. You are our sisters. You are our first sense of acknowledgement of self in our male, in our duality, in our male stature. You are our everything. Your essence is everything to us. Your smell, your beauty of self, the way you speak, and we find this first through our mothers. So I like to say, and very relevant to this conversation. This is an excellent conversation, by the way. I love it. I'm going to say to you that our first teachers are our parents. I was very fortunate, and it hit me as Jason was speaking. I have both my parents. I was brought up with both my parents are still together. My grandparents on both sides are still together, and that wasn't easy for me, believe it or not, because there's a lot of expectation. I have expectations that weren't necessarily fair of the relationships I've been in, and so that took on its own path of growth. But I want to say something very important. From my little time here on this planet, I can tell you, mothers teach their sons how to love a woman. Fathers teach their daughters how to love a man. Fathers teach their sons how to love themselves. Mothers teach their daughters how to love themselves. And this is why the duality is so important. It is completely essential to our existence, to our continuance. And once we can take care of the aspect of a nuclear family, which I know for many fits only a Western model, what will happen is the same time we have to be working on the village. Because the truth is, whether it comes to family structure, whether it comes to disciplining the family, whether it comes to sticking together, the sustainability of our relationships, we cannot expect to have a Western model and to succeed. It work. It hasn't worked. We know that there was a time not long ago in the past, say 60 years, where Black families were more together. And we know some of the elements that have been put in place to keep the family separate. So the image, and Jason spoke to all of that, the image of the Black family needs to be reinstated. It's the image, it's the imagery, because that's everything to how we're taught to be, to what we project of self, and to what we project of everything around us is imagery. So I'd say one of the most important things, and I know time is limited, so I won't go on much longer, but one of the most important things is for us to reinstate the image of the Black family, what that looks like, so we can support each other willfully. And in relationships, in regard to relationships, last point, when we look into our past and the history of relationships, we're speaking of family, the marriages with our people as indigenous people were nothing based on what we have been taught here. As a matter of fact, marriage is not the union of two people. Marriage is the union of two families. Herein is again is the village. So there's a whole restructuring that has to change in our mindset around prioritizing the village. And then we can talk more efficiently, more specifically about sustainability of Black families and even the nuclear family or even polygamous family. Because that's another topic that you have to go into as well. It's a touchy topic, but it's very real. Because if we're going to talk about the village, what does that mean? You can't bring a Western model to an African village and expect it to work. So there's quite a bit, that I don't think it's the time to discuss some of those other issues. But I definitely am going to reiterate the idea that we need to restore the image and the image of the Black family, what that really looks like.
Thank you so much. That was very, very powerful. Jason, I got the message, no problem, not a problem at all. I appreciate both of you coming here. I wish we had more time. I wish we had all night. I could sit here and listen to you guys. Just sit here and talk to me. Fill me up, brothers. Fill me up. Could listen to you talk all night. But unfortunately, we're very limited with time. Is Gary Crawford here? Because he would be next. And if not, we're just going to go right along in our program. Omari and Jason, thank you so much. Know that we love you too. If you were at the first event, you would have heard my big spiel on how much I love the Black man and that, I'll go OJ on some people for some Black men, But I love you, brothers. Know that Black women do love you as well. And, somehow we're going to have to find a way to keep these conversations going. I don't know how we're going to do that because the first one was very powerful. Tonight started off very powerfully as well. So now we're going to get right into it because I am a stickler for time, and I know that we're probably going to go over tonight. I'm warning you from now. It was supposed to end at 8 o'clock. We're already at 7:28 because of some technical difficulties in the beginning. We started a little bit later. So if you have to jump off, I do understand, but I hope you will stick with us for the remainder, okay? Because the conversations are going to get good, really good. So I want to introduce the panelists to you this evening. And just before we start, panelists, listen, the time is short. So please keep that in mind as you answer the questions. And if you can, I would ask that you keep your answers to 5 minutes max. I understand that some topics may take a little bit longer and I will make accommodations where necessary, but I will be jumping in if you're speaking too long, okay? We want to be able to answer some questions from the audience as well. So this is why I'm kind of, putting a little bit of a time buffer around here. Is that okay for everyone? Any questions before we get started? All right, so we're going to jump in right now. And I want to introduce to you, as I pull them up on my phone here, our panelists for the evening, beginning with Mrs. Chambers, who was fighting with her phone earlier, and I'm making fun of her. Now, the beauty about having this queen on here tonight, I want you people to understand who Mrs. Chambers is to me. She's so special. Mrs. Chambers is my grade 1 teacher. She taught me when I was 6 years old. So yes, I can see that. Wow, yep. Mrs. C, are you there? I can't see your face. Sit up.
Yes, I'm here.
Where is your face? I'm not seeing your face.
Can't see. Can you see it now?
Now I can see you. See her? Look how pretty she looks. She taught me in grade 1. She must have been about 14 years old. So Mrs. Chambers, Evangie Chambers, was born in Porus, Manchester, Jamaica. She started elementary school, and I'm gonna skip some of these, but I want to get down to the good parts here. She went to Porus Primary School, then to Mount St. Joseph Academy in Mandeville, worked for a few years as a pre-trained teacher, then went to Michael Teachers College in Kingston and Church Teachers College in Mandeville. I'm so familiar with all of those places. Now, Mrs. Chambers was featured by the Jamaica Gleaner under the lifestyle, in the lifestyle page as an exceptional teacher because she had, and then from teaching, she went on to nursing because she had a passion for nursing as well. So after retiring from teaching, she studied at the Irish Scarlet Institute in Mandeville and completed a practical nursing course. After she migrated to the USA, she continued in the medical field and just studied at Sanford Brown Institute in New York, where she was a trained medical assistant. Married for 50 years, has 5 beautiful children and countless non-biological children. And guess what she said as the last sentence? Among them is Miss Carlene. I'm so privileged, so privileged. Now, how many of you can have your grade 1 teacher still collaborating with you? Ha, ha, ha. Now, the second panelist is Nadine Spencer. And Nadine is a girl that I call my friend, my sister. So Nadine, I'm so happy that you're on here tonight, that the other facilitators chose you as well. Nadine is a facilitator, consultant, and self-care junkie. One-to-one connection, which is her business, was created because of the lack of life connections that Nadine saw in her own life, friends, and women that she met in passing. She has created a safe and salient space for women, especially women of color, to assemble and be positioned to rise above habitual ways of thinking and existing. Her passionate heart's cry mixed with the school of hard knocks is what led Nadine to come up with A Woman's Connection. This group consists of multiple programs that are designed to aid women in digging deeper, to expose the unseen obstacles that imprison women spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. So that's Nadine for you. Next one is Miss Vivine DaCosta. Now this queen right here. Have you ever been fitted with some gear by Miss Vivine? If not, you don't know what you're missing. Vivine, I'm looking for your thing here on in WhatsApp because I know you sent it to me. There you go. Found it. Found it. And here we go. All right. Vivine Barnes, formerly DaCosta, is the owner and creative director of Vivine DaCosta Design House, Inc., a women's fashion design, events planning, and home business staging hub in Toronto. She's the designer behind the women's clothing brand label, Vivine DaCosta. Vivine had a calling as a fashion designer, creative from a very young age. She designed her first children's wear collection when she was 12 years old and has not stopped for over 30 years. Vivine worked full-time in the corporate sector, in global trade and logistics on a global front, while simultaneously operating her design business. There's so much more that I can say about Miss Vivine, but because of time, I'm going to cut that short so that I can introduce the final panelist. And I'm digging all over the place here because I have all the bios. Now, this is the second time I have had the privilege of having this queen on a panel. She showed up on my book launch panel last month, and she just took us by storm. She's one powerhouse lady, this one here. Femi Omotola has worked in HR for a period of about 20 years and possesses invaluable international and Canadian experience. Her journey cuts across the spectrums of oil and gas industry, healthcare, social services, and now consulting. She holds 2 master's degrees in sociology and industrial relations and personnel management from the University of Lagos. She graduated with honors in HR from Humber College in Toronto. Again, there's so much more I could say for her, but just to give you a little bit of background on these queens who are sitting on the panel with us tonight. We're talking about mothers, we're talking about sisters, we're talking about friends and sister friends. So ladies, welcome. Everyone, meet our panelists. And we're just going to jump right into the conversation right now. We are so blessed to have you. And I just want to say, I am looking forward to everything that you guys have to say tonight. I'm here to learn, school me. All right, So I'm going to throw the first question out, and anybody can take it. And remember, keep your answers to the 5-minute limit, please. What is your understanding or definition of family, and how accurately does that reflect what you know of the Black family?
I think I want to jump in on that one.
All
Thank
right.
you again for the invitation. It's really a privilege, not a right, to be here. Queens and kings, welcome. Good night. It's Vivian Barnes again. I kind of want to wrap your heads around how I was raised as a Black woman in a household with mommy and daddy, 5 girls, grandpa, grandma, and a migration, a family. So the definition family for me, the Black family, is a migration family. And when I say migration, I mean that you in the house growing up, I grew up here in Canada, but from a little age, there's always somebody in the house. There's always someone I must be accountable to. There's always the neighbor also who becomes the family next door. So there's always somebody. And now, come in here at a very young age and see how culturally things are done differently. But because we were raised with a great foundation, Nana, Grandma, it really takes a whole village to raise the Black family. And I want the Black family to understand that, yes, there are some holes, and because we have a traditional role, or a parent played a significant role at home working, but still was able to hold and gel the family together. Mommy was the nucleus. In my family, dad just worked, and he felt because he was working and providing. And I must give God thanks because I was raised very privileged, but never really had the love of daddy to hug and to kiss him. But he was always there, but he's always a provider. Mommy was the nucleus. Mommy worked, mommy ran the thing, mommy did everything. Mommy, 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 mommy. Daddy even says we can't, and mommy said we can. Of course, we're going to go because mommy said we can. But I wanted to just, jump in and really, really talk about the families. The Black family is a migration of people. I'm yet to see a Black family. Maybe now, yes, now and nowadays, you'll see just, the husband, the wife, or a single mother, or a single dad, or a child raising a child. But there's always an accountability person, whether it's on your church family, or the neighbors around you, or your school family. There's always a migration of family in the Black family. Thank you.
Excellent answer. Anyone else want to take that on? Panelists, feel free to unmute and keep your microphones unmuted so that you can jump right in. Anybody else wants to take that? All right. Thank you, Vivian. That was an excellent answer. I remember my family being similar to yours as well. And I grew up with mom and dad at one point in the house, and dad for me was a stepdad. So I knew my biological dad. I also knew my stepdad. So I always tell people I have two dads, or I would say I have a father and a dad. So, I'm closer to dad more than I am to father. Father is the one who gave the seed, but dad is the one who actually raised me. And then there were all these other extended family around, like all the time, coming and going in and out of the house. And so family really includes everybody, includes the village, because I remember not saying hello to one of my neighbors and got in trouble for it. You know what I mean? So I don't know about how you guys were raised, but those were the things that that colored my childhood and that I understood as a family. Now tell me, in this family structure that we're talking about, what role do Black women play to their daughter and to their sons? As a matter of fact, what role does she play in the family structure? Wife, mother, to her family. Tammy, you want to take that one just for time?
Unmute your mic.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. So thank you so much, Colleen, for having me. I am just so humbled to be here. I really appreciate the extension of the invitation to me. I don't take it for granted. Um, so Black women should be role models for not just their daughters, but their sons as well. We should try to instill in our children the cultural beliefs, virtues, and set them on the right path of life. Children, including daughters, sons, they learn by imitation and observation, especially in their formative years. So whatever you don't want them picking up, you shouldn't be doing in front of them. I remember when my daughter was growing up, we had this house help that used to keep money in her bra. And my daughter started doing the same thing as well. So they imitate, they observe, and you need to be careful about what you say and what, I mean, she was really young. She was like probably 2 or under 2. And I saw her doing it and I was like, what's she up to? So we really need to be careful about who we put around our children. They observe, they imitate. And as Black parents, we should put a conscious effort to guide and protect our children by instructing and monitoring them. When we fail in this area, the child will begin to learn from their environment. Especially for us Black families here in the Western world, they pick up other habits, then the peer group pressure is there. So if you're not there as a parent to monitor, what they do is they just substitute and they just pick up stuff from the internet, they pick up stuff from their peer group. And if you're not too careful, you might not even notice until it's too late. They might have imbibed those values that you don't want for them. So you need to be really careful. You need to really monitor them. You need to groom them. It's like you're planting a tree. You want to plant the tree in the right soil. You want to make the home comfortable and accommodating. You want to make it their safe space. You know they face all kinds of issues out there. But when they come home, you want them to be able to relax and unwind. You want to build a relationship with them. Because if you don't build that relationship with them from scratch, it might be difficult for you to build it when they grow up. What does the Bible tell us about bringing up children? I'm referring to the manufacturer's manual now. The manufacturer's manual says, train up a child in the way you want them to go, so that when they are old, they will not depart from it. You know, put those values into them. It's like a project. Bringing up children is like a project. You have the end result in mind. You deposit what you want to see. It's like you're cooking a meal. You put in the ingredients at the right time. And then at the end of the day, you get your full meal. But if you leave your oil on for too long, you know your meal might burn, you know? So there are things that you look out for. You watch over them like a hawk. You know, sometimes when we mothers go out to work, we are so tired and exhausted by the time we come back home. But I want us to take a step back and make out that time for the children. Make sure your home is a palace. Make sure they're comfortable in the home. You know, make it their safe space. Like I said earlier on, I could go on and on all night about this because I'm really passionate about it. A lot of us have dropped the ball somewhere along the line, and we really need to, whatever it is that's important for that child, no matter how trivial, make it important for you as well. Make time for them, deposit into their life so that later on you reap the rewards.
Excellent. Now, I'm listening to you speak, and as you're speaking, there are some other questions that are popping up in my mind. You talked about us raising children here, especially in the Western world. Now, I was raised in the Caribbean, and I came to Canada as a late teens, early young adult, and I noticed that the way children are brought up here is quite different than how I was brought up in the Caribbean. And I want to ask this question. I want to really ask this question. I wrote it down and let me make sure that I'm reading it the right way. Can a mother be a father to her son? Because we're talking about the family structure here, right? Can a mother be a father to her son? There are a lot of single mother families, single parent families, and the majority of them are single mothers. And the second part to that question is, how should we discipline our children? Should we change the way we discipline our children because we are living in North America as opposed to Africa or the Caribbean? Now, anybody can jump in and take that. Any of the panelists, Mrs. Chambers, Nadine, any of you can jump in and take that one.
Can I jump in a little bit? I'm passionate about this one.
Sure.
I've heard so many times, like, the mother is the father. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The mother is the mother. The father is the father. The mother can do the best she can as a parent, but that little boy needs somebody. That little boy needs a dad. Unfortunately, in some families, there's no dad. But I'm telling you, I was raised here. And because the values were instilled, like the foregone speaker, the values were instilled. So, dad, I said, was in the house, but dad wasn't in the house. Mommy was the matriarch. But when it comes on to certain things, dad has to do. So you cannot replace the man in the family. And I believe that's the downfall in the Black family, in the Black community. Because when the absence of the man is there, the strength, the backative is not there. It's not to be in the jailhouses, but it's to be in the schools. It's to go to the sport function with our little boys and little girls, for them to show and exemplify the kind of man that they should marry, or for the woman that they should marry. The Black man is pivotal in the relationship, and it's in the house. And it doesn't matter how we want to slice and dice it. Oh, I've done a phenomenal job as a single woman, and kudos to most of us who have had, raised our kids without the father. But you cannot replace the man with yourself. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. It's not going to work. But thank God for those women and, and some dads who are playing the mother role as well. So, it's a very, very sticky one, but we do the best we can, but men need to step it up. And some women is the reason why some men is not in the house. So it's a whole big ocean of questions and concerns. And if we want to get serious about it, we got to bring it where the rubber meets the road. The man needs to be present. We need to love and appreciate our men more. We need to teach. I am married to my husband, and he was coming from a different background. So I had to be gentle with him. I had to teach him some ways. I got to be a little bit patient with him. And, so he's coming. And so the girls now can open up even more freely to him, because he's not, sergeant, anymore. So, we work it in that way. And so the woman as the matriarch and the woman as the wisdom oftentimes has to learn how to recalibrate, how to put the man in the house as the head of the household.
Yeah, two-fist power salute to that one. I'm all for that. The man must be the head of the house. There's so much that I can say, but I want to hear from our panelists. Who's going next? Mrs. Chambers, you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes. Black families are primarily matriarchal. And worldwide, it is really a mother who runs most Black families. And that is almost like a carryover from Africa, like we think about the tribes. Something is there that Black families emulate. And the men ultimately are in charge, but it is the women that, quote unquote, run things. The absence of a father figure has a negative impact on the social, cultural, and religious upbringing of their child or their children. The absence of a mother also has a negative impact, but the father's absence carries a heavier weight of negativity. And I would think that, or I know that, male and female are wired differently. So it is quite important for a father to be around his children, because a mother cannot father a child.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Nadine, I'm giving you a chance to jump in here. You haven't weighed in on this one yet. I want to hear your views on that one.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Carlene, for allowing me to have this opportunity to be present. Regarding this topic, it's very different for myself because I came from a very dysfunctional family. Father being an alcoholic and a mother just being very despondent. So when you come from such dysfunction, it's very hard. I hear everything everyone is saying, and I agree. But when you come from a place where you don't see that nor have that, and you have both parents, it's very hard. So I don't know if I have an answer as much as I have an opinion, in the sense that for those of us who were raised in a Black family, who come from a very dysfunctional family, I know for me, I looked to my friends' parents for guidance. I looked to my friends. I remember I had a best friend, and she's from Trinidad. And I remember the first day I met her mom, she went up to her mom and she hugged her and kissed her. And her mom said, "Hi, how was school? How was your day?" And I was like, I think I stood there with like this. And my girlfriend says to me, she goes, "Nadine, close your mouth." I go, "Oh, sorry." And when we went up to her room, I was in shock. And I said to her, "Does your mom do that all the time?" And she's like, "Yeah, so does my dad." I said, "They ask you how you're doing?" And she's like, "Yeah." I go, "Did they ever tell you they like you?" She goes, "Yeah, and they tell me they love me." I go, they tell you who? They tell you what?" And listen, I'm not going to lie, people. I went home vexed because I didn't hear that. I didn't see that. I would walk through the door and it was, "Good evening, Mom. Good evening, Dad." They would answer me if they chose to. They never asked me how my day was. They never asked me what I like, what I don't like. So to hear the panelists speaking about what they know as family, it is very foreign to me.
Wow. Wow. That and you see, these are the things that creates trauma within our own families. And if that doesn't get healed within us, having experienced it, then guess what's going to happen? We're going to keep passing that down to our children.
Yeah.
Right. And if they don't get healed, then they're good. And this is what we're talking about, intergenerational trauma, right? This is how it happens. This is how it happens. But I'm so glad that you were able to heal to the point where you can come here and share that with us so openly. Thank you for that, because you've turned your pain into power. I really appreciate that. So, when we think about everything that we've talked about so far, we talk about the woman being the nurturer in the family. We talk about the father and where he's supposed to be in the family, whether he's there or not right now. There are a lot. We talked about single parent families where, fathers are absent. And we know that sometimes the mother is absent as well. But we know that more often than not, and I think I can say that safely without having to do the research and come back with some numbers, more often than not, you'll find that the father is absent. And my question is this: women, what can women do to decrease the absentee father situation in the Black family? What is a woman's responsibility in that regard? Because I believe that the men may leave, or these things happen that creates these situations. But what can we do as women to lessen that, to keep that from happening as often as it is happening right now?
Can I take this one, Carlene?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to be very candid and I'm going to be very raw, because I was a single mom for 13 years. Looking back, what I learned is because of the dysfunction I came from, I could not make decisions and choices in partners properly. There were people I should never have been with. There were people I was with, and I actually had children with, but we didn't last, okay? And one of the things I would say to answer the question honestly and truthfully, women, keep your legs closed. Know who you are with before you lay down and have unprotected sex. Babies don't just appear, and each child is a life. And as parents, we will stand before our Maker for how we raise our children. And so it's a huge responsibility to be a parent. It's not a fashion statement. It's not a handbag thing. It's something that is of great value. There are women out there today spending thousands of dollars to have a child. And some of us, like myself, have been blessed to have many. I have 7, and I'm a grandmother of 2. But the point I am making is this: looking back, like I said, I was the single mother. Okay. I have 7 children. I have 4 fathers. I'm not ashamed of it. It is what it is. I'm a married woman, and the last 4 children are from my husband. But the journey I went through was very painful. And I point no fingers other than to myself. Because, ladies, it's our bodies that carry these children. It's our bodies that go through what it goes through to bring a child into this world. So it's up to us, I believe, honestly and truthfully. And I know many will probably disagree, but that's okay. This is my opinion from experience. Know who you're laying down with. Know his background. Know what his family life is like. Know what he's thinking. Know where he's coming from heart-wise. You understand? Because in my family, there was a lot of males having children outside of relationships. For me, that's a natural thing to see, which is sad. And I have many other Black girlfriends who tell me the same. I mean, I have a lot of Black girlfriends, sadly enough, where their fathers have children outside of the marriages they're in right now. You know? So just to close this up, keep your legs closed.
Thank you. Can I jump in this one? This is getting hot. You know what? Thank you, sweetie. I'm going to leapfrog into the emotional state of a man. And I think we have to connect emotionally, not sexually, with a man. And you got to understand, too, a lot of men are coming with their baggage and their issues, and they're coming from diverse places also. I have my issues. I may be raised in a different environment than he is. And I'm a little bit older now, a little bit wiser now, you think. And so therefore, I'm going to connect to the man emotionally. So when I come into a relationship with a man, we're going to have that talk. We're going to have that talk. I am going to observe. I am going to see. I'm going to love. I'm going to celebrate him like the king that he is. And I think the problem is a lot of women, unfortunately, the responsibility comes in our lap. Like mother's not really mothering her husband or the man, but show them a way. Connect with them in a different level. You know, I know a lot of men are sowing their seeds all over the place because they don't have any emotional connection to any female. Mommy was not around, daddy was not around, and some of them, mommy was around, daddy was around, but there's no connect, there's no respect. So number one, like you said, close your legs, but that's okay. But there's gotta be, what is the nucleus? We have got to celebrate our men. They're not stupid. I don't care what kind of jobs they're doing. They're not stupid. I celebrate them. I don't care if you're working around the clock. I celebrate them. When I may want to grumble about something, you know, honey, yeah, but you know what? I'm going to hold it down like I see my mother did and my father did. We've been married 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. It's not easy, but I'm not going to use a microwave syndrome in a relationship with dads as we go along. We have to get into emotionally and respect and revere the men.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I'll just,
totally understand that.
honestly, I am so taken aback. The reason I'm taken aback is I'm wowed by your share, Nadine and Vivian, because I was just looking, recalling my notes, and I said, wow, it's like somebody who picked up my notes. Okay, for me, I had the African lady living in Africa is under pressure to get married by a certain age. You know, I didn't grow up here. I wasn't born and raised here. But in Africa, you're under pressure. You have to get married by a certain age. And for me, my 2 younger sisters got married before me. And so I was almost getting to the point of desperation. So I had to speak to myself. I had to counsel myself. I had to start to pray so that I don't make a mistake, because I had seen all kinds of things happening out there. So what I just want to say to the ladies out there, don't be desperate. And what happens is when you're in a bad relationship, don't think you can change the man. You are not designed, you are not wired to change anybody. You need to be whole by yourself first. If you're not whole by yourself first, you're going to be a problem to that man when you get married. Work on yourself. Make sure that you are satisfied and content and confident with who you are as a person first.
Yes.
Don't be desperate. I've seen a lot of women marry because they are desperate, and it hasn't ended in a pretty way. You know, I thank God for the grace that I had to hold on and to wait. People might think, oh, she got married so late, but I knew what I was doing. I had seen a lot of things out there. So I waited. I waited and I prayed and I waited on God to just give me that right man that could tolerate me, that could accept me the way I am. You know, so I really want to drive this home. Please don't be desperate. A broken engagement is better than a broken marriage.
Yes.
Don't pick yourself up. If you've made a mistake, pick up the pieces and just move ahead. You're not the first one that it will happen to. You're not the last person. But please don't be desperate and jump into a situation that you know is not good for you. Because the truth about it is we have that check in our spirit when we are in a bad relationship. You have that check. Something is telling you this person is not good for you. But we ignore it and we think we can change the situation. We were not created to change anybody. We should work on ourselves. That's all I want to say.
All I have to say to that is in big bold letters, the wisdom of queens. Right on. I'm hearing that. This is so huge for me. Don't be desperate. Celebrate our men. Keep your legs closed. Ladies and gentlemen, principles I've been practicing for the past 50 years. Hallelujah. Yes, I have a sense of humor, but you know, the points are really hitting home. I am hearing them. And for me, the whole desperation situation, it's a huge thing. It's a big thing. And I think that's where a lot of people get themselves into trouble. And it's not just in Africa, Femi, that women come under pressure to get married. My grandmother has been pressuring me since I was 25. I'm 50 years old now. Last year, not last year, the year before I was in Jamaica, she was like, you see her, she's still not married yet. It look like she now have no picnic. So I said, hey, now, hold up. You don't know what God's plan for me is. What if I'm like Sarah in the Bible and get pregnant when I'm 90? What are you going to do about that? Right? So I have to keep checking her all the time. So I've been getting pressure since I was in my 20s to get married and have children. And one of the things that I said to my grandmother is this. I said, Grandma, I'm going to be honest with you. The reason I'm not rushing to get married is when I look in this family, I don't see any relationships here to write home about. I don't see any relationship here that I want to emulate. And so I have made a criteria of what I want from my husband. And until he arrives, I will wait. And so she can't understand that because, you know, growing up in her time, by a certain age, they were married and they had the children because that's the aspiration. Even now, right? It's the aspiration. And if they grew up in a church circle, it's even worse because it seems like the only two aspirations in life is to get saved. And then after you get saved, you get married and then everything else is okay. That's the utopia. And so because I have, ever since I was 16, I kept saying, no, my life is going to be different. And it has been different. I've paid the price in such a way that I'm 50. I have no children yet. I've never been married. And so, you know, if this is the way for me to break certain things generationally, then so be it. You know what I mean? It is painful. I want to have children. I wish I had children before, but it's what you're willing to put up with. It's what you are willing to say to yourself, I am worthy of something better than what I've grown up accustomed to. And this is where I think women need to really evaluate the situation. Nadine talked about it. Know who you're getting with. Know who. I have arguments with my friends all the time because they try to set me up with people. And I have this, it's like I have a nose that can sniff right away that, no, that's not the right one for me. And you know, that you're too picky. You're damn right I'm picky. You know what I mean? Because I deserve the best. My stepfather is such a man that He set the standard of men for me. And no, well, yes, I am kind of a daddy's girl, but I'm not saying that, you know, that's the reason why I haven't been married. I know what I want. I know I'm looking for a certain type of character in a man, more than the looks, more than his bank account. It's a character that I'm going after. And if I don't find it, you're not coming here. You understand? You're not going to come here. And so this is the price that I have had to pay, but I'm going to keep paying it until he shows up, because I know he's out there. And the reason why he's taking so long to come is because he is rare. You understand? He is very rare. And so regrettably I have to drop off. All right, I understand. Thank you for tuning in. We'll miss you, but I'm making a recording of it. And so if anyone has to drop off, then you know, we'll understand. I know that we're running a little late, but like I said, we started late due to technical difficulties. So if you can hang on, that would be awesome. So you know, great conversation. What does our audience have to say? Does anyone have any questions or anything they want to? I know Alethea is managing the chat for me. Is there anything there, Alethea, that we can drop into this conversation right now?
Much the gems that our panelists have discussed so far. And, you know, we're just reinforcing everything that's being said. You know, there's no lies at all. Everything's all truth. And we're just affirming and esteeming everything that everyone's saying. Yeah, absolutely. One question did come up about our cultural traditions and rites of passage when it comes to marriage. And how do we reflect that in this day and age?
I don't know who can answer.
Because the traditional.
I asked the question in the chat, and it has to do with us finding back our root. We have to be attaching ourselves spiritually and culturally to systems that keep us connected. That's where the question was coming from. Where is the importance of those things? Because if we're talking about healing between Black men and Black women, we have to talk about those things. So that's why the question was posed.
Okay, got it.
Can I address something here for a moment? And I'm sorry, I don't want to hog things.
Go ahead.
But for me, it's more so than values, than tradition. People do things, a lot of things wrong for tradition. What are the values that was instilled in you that you want to see exemplified in your family today? You know, growing up here, my mom would still give us a spanking. And what she did, she took us to the shower, she turns it on and whop, 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 whop. I dare not call the cops. We didn't call the cops. You know, my white friends could call the cops. So what values do I have to this very day that I'm using today, this 21st century, that I've learned from the little girl that I want to see in my house? On a Sunday, we have certain things that we do. You know, we do certain things that we do. Family, you know, growing up at a certain age, nobody had their own TV in their room. We have one TV in the family room. And so the family come together as a family unit. Sunday is the day, if there's no sports, we choose a day that works for everybody, and we all sat there and we talk. No cell phones, no that, no that. So we talk as a family. So it's not more about, traditions that we I was raised with, what I want to bring over. It's the values in the tradition. Am I making sense? It's the 100%. Values that was instilled in my grandmother. You know, little girl, you must learn to wash your panty. You make your bed. You take a bath. You do all these things. Learn how to cook, how to hold the family. It's the values that I live dearly for. And I believe if we go back to the basic, we wouldn't have so much dysfunctional, confused family, in particular in the Black family, where we hold each other accountable for what is going on. I could see a little Black boy on the street and listen, I know you weren't raised that way, and they will see me as auntie. You know what I mean? The values of growing up. Like, who are you? Who do you think you are? You know, who do you think you are? When he sees me, he sees respect. When he sees me, he sees authority. And so when he sees me and I say to him, hey, you can't be like those guys, he will listen. So it's the values that that I'm migrating from traditionally how I was raised that I'm instilling today. And I think if we plug those in every day, it's not difficult at all. It's not difficult.
Sister Vivian, I
Vivian,
just wanted
yes.
to, this is Omari. I applaud everything you said. What I'm promoting is the idea of us now rebuilding a system. Everything traditional, as you said, isn't always good, but we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We need to be able to still hold on to some old-time traditional things that connect us culturally so that there's a purpose behind what we do. Some people just beat their children and they don't even know why they're doing that. There's no we have to attach ourselves to systems and maybe create systems, add on to systems, because each home is not going to have the same idea. And at one time, as a culture, there was a general standard, even here in Canada. There was a time that even regardless outside of the Black community, a neighbor would look out for a child
Neighborhood
regardless of
watch,
race.
yes.
There was a different time here. So I'm saying to you, there needs to be a standard. And that goes back to cultural systems. Because without cultural systems, you won't have a thread in the community. Each household is going to vary in what their idea of this and that is. And that goes back to this Western concept of individualism. And that's what got us right here to a lot of the segregation we're going through right now between each other.
Okay, I think Jason, you have your hand raised. You want to say something?
Yeah, I just had a quick question and a quick statement. I think I'd mentioned something to what Vivian had said. Vivian had said about the celebration and the fact that the woman has to learn how to celebrate herself first. We keep trying to ask people to do something that they don't know how to do, or that they can't even see for themselves. But something that I learned this year is when something breaks, it either shatters or it becomes or it either breaks in pieces or it becomes almost weaponized based on the edges. So you know how sometimes something breaks and you can either cut yourself on it or you can simply just sweep it up because it's broken. But the point was that both of them were broken. I've experienced that if we speak about it either for a man or for a woman, when situations break us, it makes us either a weapon or we're so broken that we can't be put back together. And the point that Omar made about, sometimes we do things not knowing why we do it. Usually, sometimes it comes from a broken place. I'm doing this because I've seen it done, but I really don't know why I'm doing it. It has no purpose. And I'm saying it's not that we're not broken. It's when we're broken, what do we become? A weapon? Or are we so broken that nobody can put us together? But my question really was, because the Black woman has always been put in that position where she has to fend for herself, she has to defend herself, the family, everybody has to go to her. What happens in how does a woman or a Black woman make herself available to be helped when the situation changes? So as Nadine, if with your permission, I'd like to use your 13 years that you mentioned. If for 13 years you were doing it by yourself, and this gentleman comes along, how do you make yourself almost step back? And one of the women can come in, step back so that he can step in and do those things which for 13 years you've been doing for yourself. No consultation, no, yeah.
Sorry about that, Jace. I apologize. To answer that question, it was very tough. I'm not going to lie. For the first 3 years, there was a lot of headbutting. I'll give you an example, and my husband's actually watching this right now. We went grocery shopping, and we had about 20-something bags. And I had 16 of them. And he looked at me and he said, "Woman, what are you doing?" And I looked at him and I said, "Nothing. Why? Let's open the door. Let's go." And he's like, "Woman, you're married now. You're not a single mother." And when he said it, I laughed. To be honest, when I was by myself, I cried. And I had to say, God, help me step back. Help me let go. Help me wrap that beautiful skirt around me. Help me take the scissors and cut off the pants. Because one side was a pant leg, sorry, and the other side was a beautiful flowing skirt. But it was time to take off the pant leg and just put the skirt on and learn to step back and be. And it was hard. And also too, because my husband came into my life and I already had 3 children. Whew, let me tell you, and I know my Black queens can understand this, especially if you're a mother. It is hard sometimes to hear another person speak to your children. So I had to step back and say, Father God, please help me. Help me step back, know my place, stand in my place with authority, but also stand in my place knowing I've not been demoted. It's time for me to just, I don't know if you can see my hands. It's just time for me to calm now and learn to stand beside. Because you see, I wasn't really a single mom for 13 years. God was with me, helping me. But you see, I refuse to listen because, again, coming from dysfunction, and please hear my heart, I'm not making that an excuse. I'm just being very honest. I didn't know how to be. I didn't know how to live. All I knew is I had to be the father and the mother. And so I did that to the best of my abilities with what I had to work with. It wasn't easy. And I made a lot of mistakes. My older children will tell you. And I had to say a lot of apologies. But just to answer your question, Jason, it's all about trusting God, stepping back, and then stepping forward when you're ready to say, let me stand beside you. And when you can stand beside, it is then you can come together.
Oh man.
Wow. Can I just add something real quick, please, if you don't mind?
Yes.
You know, like I said earlier on, I got married at a very advanced age. So I was also used to doing things by myself, especially managing my finances. I'll do things and, I'll decide I want to do this, I want to do that. But when I got married, I had to intentionally take that step back and say, okay, this is what I want us to do. It now became, that was the only way we could maintain the mutual respect and the trust. Because I had been single for so long, I just wanted to do things on my own and I knew it was going to keep causing friction. So it's an intentional thing. You take that step back and you say, okay, it's not that I'm letting go of my authority. We are now at par. We are together. We're going to take these decisions together. We're going to have a joint account. We're going to decide on the things that we want to do with the money. It's not that you are going to go off and do your stuff and I'm going to go off and do my stuff. We have to agree. So it was hard for me because I had done things on my own by myself. I didn't need to ask anybody. I'll go off, travel here and travel there and do whatever I liked with my money, buy a car if I wanted to. But then I had to take a step back and say, okay, it's not that I'm not in charge, but we are jointly in charge of this. We have mutual respect and trust. Trust is really key. Trust for each other, mutual respect, yeah.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. You guys you're going off on a tangent right now, on a trajectory right now where I just want to keep the conversation flowing till like tomorrow same time. But I know everybody needs some sleep. I need some too because I got things to do. But you know what? We're coming up to 8:30, and I don't like to go too long over time. So I'm gonna try now to wrap this up nicely. But before I do that, Carrie, you had your hand up. Is it a quick question that you still want to ask? I want to give you the opportunity.
It wasn't a question, it was kind of like a statement. And I just wanted to say in regards to the standards of not being able to envision those relationships because you weren't raised with them and you didn't have them. Because I wasn't raised with any sort of form of relationship, where it be mother or father. It was just mother, and she was dysfunctional in her own right. And I think for me, I'm single and I have 4 kids too, and I have 4 boys. I have 4 men, 2 men and 2 young ones. And I just pretty much raised them, the bigger boys could kind of help me in a sense, but not to take on the role of them having to be father, but showing them that how to treat a woman. I never taught them how to be a man because I knew I couldn't do that, but how to treat and respect women is because I'm the only female surrounded by all males. So that's what I felt that my role was to instill those values and not to try to instill how to be a man kind of thing. But what I do find in our culture that we do need and is men to step in and support single moms and understand that it's okay. And for women who are married or who are to encourage that as well, not feel territorial and not feel that their men are going to be taken away, but just to do that village. We have to go back to the village. It takes a village to raise families, because I know even with my small village, my boys, they will then hopefully become fathers, but if they don't, they will still be able to support the outside community. Do you understand what I mean by that? So that's what I feel like is missing in regards to, and we have to understand that the reason why we are single moms, the reason why it's conditioned, and that conditioning has to be relearned, and it's taking a long time, but I think it's coming. I think it's coming along. I have faith in that the next generations will do better and be better. So that's my 2 cents in the conversation. But thank you all, the males on the panel. Thank you so much. I appreciate this discussion as well.
Thank you, Kerry. I would say let's not wait on the next generations to deal with. We're actually starting to deal with that right now with having conversations like these. And it's not that
Yes,
we
true,
can sit here within an hour and a half and solve the whole of the problem, but we can have the conversation and we can take what are the salient points out of this one? Which one do we think we should take and start working on, to say, let us take this as our project within the Black community and start working on this. We can do that one at a time. You know what I mean? So thank you so much. There are really some great comments coming up here in the chat. Sam, I don't know if you're a male or female. You can just drop that in there for me. Sam says after this, they're going to go and thank their mother. So I think that was a good thing. Ladies, you're doing a good job. And, yes, finger snaps, baby. Going to go thank his or her mother. Somebody else, Nadine, said they love the analogy of taking off the pants. I was envisioning this in my mind. Who told us to wear the pants? I wear pants, but I wear my pants. I want my husband to wear his own pants. And so until then, I'm gonna keep on wearing my pants and my skirt. Not that I'm being both, but when he comes, he wears the pants, and he better be able to wear the pants. And that's one of the things too why I'm still single, because it's easy to spot a leader. If you're not taking the initiative when we're in the dating stage, you're not a leader, baby. You're not going to be leading my household. So already back. And this is what people don't understand about me. I have such a clear vision of what I want, so that when I see what I don't want, it's easy to say bye-bye. And this is where I think a lot of women need to get to that place of clarity. Know what it is that you want so well, so that when what you don't want shows up, it's easy to say bye. Don't sit there and go, oh, well, it has 80% and we can work on the other 20. It's not gonna work.
Carlene, you should do a workshop on that. Honestly, you should. No, you laugh. I'm very serious, because there's many women out there, okay, who have come from so much dysfunction that they don't know what to do. Their head's spinning. But to see a woman like yourself, a woman like Femi, and all the other women out there that know so much what they want, teach us. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, teach us what it is. Teach us, first of all, the mentality behind that, the heart behind that, because it's important. It's an important conversation. So I challenge you, Miss Carlene Millwood, to put something together with that.
And the sad part about it is that she's one of my besties, so I can't back off.
No, she can't. No, she can't.
Anyways, so here's what I'm going to ask this one question, and this is what's going to wrap us up for the evening. This has been a great conversation. We've talked about a lot of stuff. Where do we start to rebuild? And that's a really, broad question. Where do
Can
we,
I
where do we start the rebuilding process here?
can I start?
Go ahead.
First of all, in truth. Truth in self, taking on 100% responsibility for self. Taking on the 100% responsibility to have self healed. Because everything begins with self. When you put someone who is dysfunctional with someone who is not, they're going to clash. Okay? They're going to clash. But when you put two people that maybe have both come from dysfunction, but they know who they are, they've taken the time to heal inwardly, then they open themselves up to have something to give to each other. And I think that's the problem. We've been trying to fill each other's cups with different liquids, which is fine. But as the saying goes, is a cup half full or half empty? Right? So I think that's the question we need to ask ourselves about ourselves before we step into any form or kind of relationship.
Thank you, Nadine. Can I jump in for a little bit here too? I really believe it starts with with a mindset, a change of a mindset. You have got to have a mindset that you desire change, and then you take inventory of yourself, your true self. Peel away the curtains, peel away the onions, get burned. Have that honest discussion with yourself, that soul searching discussion with yourself. Am I what I need to be? How can I get there? Where can I find the help? Open up myself to be vulnerable. You know what I mean? Open myself up to cry, open myself up to look. Really and truly, if we want the change, we have to start being the change that we want to see. And so therefore, open up our mind gaze to a different way of looking at things. I have done it for so long by myself and it's not working. Where can I talk? Who can I talk to? Who can I trust? And the devil is a liar, and you cannot trust anybody. The devil is a liar that women can get along together. The devil is a liar that every woman wants your husband. The devil is a liar, 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 liar. Take inventory of yourself. Be accountable. Get somebody. You know that people wants to lose weight, and every year they want to lose weight. Get somebody who makes you accountable and hold you responsible to those things that you want. Open up your mind gate to new things. Open up your mind gate to see new things. Look beyond the horizon. Come out of your skin and come out of your comfort zone for change. Self change. God, I was preaching there.
You were preaching there. Femi?
Yeah, if I could just jump in. I think a lot of us are unfair to ourselves in the sense that we go around with a lot of baggage. Baggage from past relationships, baggage from past mistakes, and we beat ourselves up. We need to empty ourselves of some things. To thine own self be true. Sit down and, like Vivian said, self-evaluate. What do I want to achieve? What do I want? What I've noticed is that a lot of women lack confidence.
Yes.
And when you see another woman that is confident, then you're like, who does she think she is? It's not supposed to be that way. That lady worked on herself to have that confidence. She didn't get it overnight. I didn't get here overnight. I had to work on myself. And that's what I tell my daughter. I'm like, look, the Bible says, come out from among them and be ye separate. Touch not the unclean thing. You are not like those people. You are different. You are different. You are God's masterpiece. Don't let anybody drag you down. Don't let anybody fill your cup. You decide on what you want to put into that cup and drink it. Get yourself to work on yourself. Get yourself to the level that you want to be. Be the change you want to see. Be that person. Be that motivational force. Be that person that people look up to and say, I want to be like her. There's something about her. And when people come to drink from the well, please open up your arms. If they ask you, how did you do it? Be honest, be truthful. Let them know you made mistakes as well. I have made mistakes too. We've all made mistakes, so we shouldn't think that we are super women. We make mistakes, but we have to learn from those mistakes and move forward. And don't make the other person feel bad. You're running a race, but at your own pace.
Yes.
Whenever you wake up is your own morning.
That's
It might be morning in Australia and it's nightfall here. It doesn't mean that they are ahead of us. It doesn't mean you have to run and try and beat that person. We have different time zones. Life is an exam. We have different question papers. Don't keep looking at somebody else. Don't keep envying somebody else. You'll be surprised at the battles that person is going through. So just trust and obey. Be obedient. Be to thine own self. Be true. Don't envy people. Don't pull your sister down. Please, let's stop it.
Yes.
Help in whatever way you can. Offer that assistance. Willingly, lovingly, don't condemn. Help in any way you can. Assist. Let's lift each other up.
Yes.
When you walk through a door, leave the door open. Don't shut it. May God help us.
Mrs. Chambers, do you want to add your thoughts to close us out?
Yes, I was just thinking that as individuals, we should actually have our self-actualization projected as opposed to slavery mentality and phases of tradition. When we avoid slavery mentality and some phases of tradition, well, self-actualization is projected.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Emancipating yourself from mental slavery there, right?
Yes.
As long as you're freeing your mind, renewing your mind, relearning, unlearning, and relearning, then you're actually stepping into self-actualization. I love it. I love it.
Process.
That, you see, these are the people that taught me, and she started teaching me when I was a little bit. So you understand why I'm the way I am right now? See who I got around me? Who's around you? So it has been an awesome, wonderful discussion, ladies and gentlemen. I unfortunately have to cut it at this point because it's now 8:32. And I said we were going to end at 8:30, but I thank you for hanging in with us because we started a little bit late due to technical difficulties. Thank you all panelists. Your insights, your wisdom, your contribution is priceless. I have learned so much from you this evening. Jason, thank you so much for speaking to us, ladies. We're going to have you come back and give you a whole hour just to just so you can pour into us. And Omari, unfortunately, he had to leave. But also, you men brought some wisdom as well to us. Thank you, Kings. We love you. Thank you so much. And that is it. Revere our men. And
thank you. Thank you, Miss Carly. You are now my teacher.
Carlene, Carlene, can I say something, Carlene, please?
Sure.
I first want to give you thanks. I just want to thank you so much from the depths of my heart. And I really feel as if I'm home and feel as if we're family. And one thing that we can start doing, Miss Carlene, is to start now. And I implore each and every one of us to stay connected. Miss Carlene, you have brought us together for a season at a time. I believe it's not by accident. And we can stay connected. So, how you doing? How you doing today? Drop a line once in a while. We can start to begin to get accountable for one another. Hey, how is that going? How's the project going? I can do so and so. How you doing? Jason, how are you? How's the family? We can open up that conversation at any time with your permission, so we can come together, and start to rebuild and process. Great minds come together, can do wonderful things.
Yes.
And change the trajectory for our families forever.
That's nice, Vivian. I like that. God bless you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I pronounce a benediction over you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you his peace. Have an amazing night. Good night, ladies.
Good night. Bye. Mwah.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
God bless you guys.
Bless you. I receive
Bye.
it. Receive it in Jesus' name.
Okay.
Amen.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye.
Over
Bye.
now.
Thank you.
Connect with
God
me.
bless.
Send me an invite.
Thank you, Carlene.